The times they are changing. I hear from a lot of people, well, you can't get discounted rolled fees anymore from law firms and accounting firms. Also hear sometimes from people, well, these people have been contacted a lot with respect to selling. Both of those can be true at times, but the times are changing. Why is that? Primarily because interest rates have gone up so much that an awful lot of PE activity has dropped off. When the PE activity drops off, the amount of professionals, accountants and lawyers, don't have as much business to work on. So I want to share with you a couple of things. This is a mentee. He's got a great board, but this is for one of the top 4 accounting firms. And listen to this progression here. They started with offering 35% discount for their services, whether a deal closes or not. So no success. And don't use the word success with accountants. They will tell you that they have to be unbiased. So you can use completed or something like that. I came back with 100% discount on failed and 110 on successful. Again, he's using that terminology with me. Do not use that with the accountants. They came back with 50% discount on failed and 125% on successful. I came back with 85% discount on failed and 115 on successful. They just came back with 80% discount and no premium on successful. So he asked me what I thought of it. I said, I think it sounds pretty good, but a lot of times language gets confusing and can be misinterpreted. So ask them to give you an example. So he did. Can you give me an example? Yes, certainly. To manage your deal fees and our risk management team's concerns, it would be as follows. If we incur $100,000 of time at 100% of our standard rates, scenario 1, deal proceeds, meaning it closes. We collect $100,000. Scenario 2, deal does not proceed. Strictly speaking, we should collect $20,000. However, in your specific situation, we would defer the collection of the $20,000 to the next deal, assuming the next deal proceeds, and so on. If it does not, i.e. such that on aborted fees we collect nil, deferring collection of the dead deal fee to a later point in time as your deal funds are established. Then the third bullet point they put in here was note. This is the model we typically apply to new PE funds, allowing them to establish a business with a few closed transactions and using the funding to settle our dead deal fees after the fact. Wow, what a difference from just a few months ago when people were hearing more than not, we're busy, we got more business than we know what to do with. No, we're not doing any of these. So this certainly is a change. The other one is you're going to be contacting a lot of people. I end up using all the levers we've talked about, letters, emails, et cetera, cold calls. And I got back a response that I received your letter today. After much rerouting, it must be important that it found its way to me. It's interesting to know that there's an interest out there for our, in this case, home health agency. We are blah, 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 blah. We're essentially a family-owned business. I'm a physical therapist. My wife's a registered nurse. My brother's CFO. We have 2 separate agencies and he goes on to describe where they're located. We have had a couple of buyers evaluate our business. We provided all the information. They wasted our accountant's time and energy for over 6 months. They could not fund their acquisition. Since then, we have become very reluctant to enter into any transactional agreement till we are sure that the buyer is serious about acquiring our business and they have funds arranged before the agreement and the transaction is completed within 90 days. I like the idea of less disruption and a holistic approach. Can you explain what it means? Thank you for your interest in our business. Warm regards, blah, blah, blah. So, what about that response? He's been burned a couple of times at least, but he's still reaching out. So you can learn a lot from responses like this in your outreach. Remember the pain points. In this case, he's had several times where the transaction couldn't close from the buyer's side. I responded to him, I can't tell you if I can close that deal or not. Have never seen the financials, et cetera, and I answered a few questions. But the times, they are certainly changing. One of the things that is happening now is with interest rates rising, multiples of EBITDA are coming down. Banks are getting more conservative. Do they still need business? Yes. Most of these businesses that we are in, easy to understand as opposed to some funky tech deal. So bankers will feel better about that. The process we use where we keep a seller in the deal, either through seller finance, seller equity, etc., that gives less risk, provided that they knew how to run the business originally. But in terms of multiples coming down, it provides a great opportunity, assuming that you have a reasonably clean balance sheet in the seller, to offer seller finance as an alternative. That a bank is going to give you 1.5 times valuation or whatever it turns out to be. And we can do better than that, but it's got to be 100% seller finance. Now, do they wish they sold a year ago? Yeah, they do. But guess what? We are where we are. So you're going to find that this makes seller finance a much better alternative than previously, and it was a pretty good alternative previously. And depending upon how many of my podcasts you listen to, you'll hear that a mentee of mine, Sean, ended up 100% seller finance on a $25 million deal. Does that happen every day? No. But it did happen, and the reason it happened was because Sean had some specific answers to some specific goals of the seller that the seller was able to achieve, and we played that negotiation pretty well. So think about things changing. Keep in touch with bankers. See what the most current situations are in multiples. Your professionals can help you with what multiples they're seeing, et cetera, et cetera. If you do not know and are struggling with how to start conversations, go over to my website. There's Conversation Starters. It's free. That will give you several opening discussion suggestions on how to get started. And if you want to go there directly, just go to brucewhipple.com/free course. Look and watch your email we're going to be releasing a AI course and how to use that in this business acquisition process. I think that'll be helpful for you. So keep your eyes open for that as well. But remember, keep your fingers on the pulse of what's happening during these times. There's a lot of changes going on. There's opportunity in chaos, and we are certainly in a situation where there's chaos. The fact that there's less PE activity, it's a good thing for what we do.